I'm really excited. It's like pretty much an all new team for both teams. Like, we haven't played each other. I mean, some of us have played club rugby against each other, and some of us have played at UCAF with each other. But it's been 3 years since we've actually played this fixture, so it's no one really knows what to expect, I'd say. Obviously the scoreline last time was very much in the RAF's favour, but I mean, we've watched the Army RAF match, and we know what standard we're playing at this season, so I genuinely think it's going to be all to play for on the day. Like,
I think, sort of to add to what Ollie's saying there, it was interesting that you, at the first part of this conversation, picked up on the fact that the Six Nations is being played at the same time as the inter-services this year, and saying about how it's a bit of a double-edged sword. And actually, for the Navy team, probably for the first time in a few years, it's almost levelling the playing field a bit. So actually, for the first time in a couple of years, now that the Army and the RAF have lost those international players to the Six Nations, it's actually levelled it for us. And for the first time, the Navy is going to be able to sort of step up and really show what we can do against a similar opposition, if that makes sense. If I phrase that right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, touching on both those points, as Ollie said, like there's been a whole change up for players and a lot of new players coming in, especially the RAF side. You've got Karis Williams, Daisy Fahy, and we've also been in exactly the same position, and where we've gained a lot of new players. So it's just really exciting. We've got a massive buzz and a massive energy in camp at the moment, and I think that is mostly due to the fact that we haven't played inter-services for 2 years. But it's exactly the kind of energy that we are looking for to take into the RAF game. And as Ollie said, scoreline last time was not in our favour. However, we're looking to go out there and put in a real shift, and I think everyone on our team knows we can do that. And so that's what's bringing that proper energy. The crowd will definitely bring some nerves. I think we're all in a very good position to channel that and use that in our favour, and also for the greater good of that is women's rugby. Realistically, you know, if we're in a position to be able to play a match that people are actually able to get to, we're in a much better position to promote the game.
At the moment, there's been such a wave of increased support for the women's games in the civilian sense, both with the Premiership and with the Six Nations, that social media has really got behind it, and it's become much more on the centre stage. So the fact that the services sport is also following suit by the women playing in Twickenham and by the women playing, you know, leading up in the middle of the day in a sort of a prime slot, is backing up with that and jumping on the back of that wave of generally more publicity for the women's side of the sport. So if we can show young girls out there all the different ways that you can play rugby, as well as in, you know, when they're seeing it in England and Ireland and Scotland and things like that, when they're seeing the Premiership, we're showing them another side of it where you can have a professional career and also play rugby to a high standard at the same time. And that's got to be a good thing.
I've always found to have a really supportive chain of command who will do their best to get me away. If it's not for the full week's camp, it's for 2 days. If it's not for the camp at all, it's at least for the game and stuff like that. So when I've not been deployed and when I've been available for games, I have had the support there, and also the training support group at the TSG here will always fight our corner for us as well. So that's really good.
I think it's good for trying to get off of services rugby. I think where the issue comes is where we're deployed and we can't be playing civilian rugby, or we're very restricted to locations and what teams we can play at. Yeah. I think that's, you know, we've got some people that travel 2 hours to get to clubs every week, and, you know, just to be playing at a good standard. And then obviously when you're deployed, you know, you can't be playing rugby and it might be a bit of touch in the hangar, or it's playing against a foreign team, or trying to keep fit whilst at sea. But we manage it because we're passionate about it.
It makes it easier to get around people, a lot easier, because you have so many different walks of life in your rugby team. You have so many different walks of life when you're like on a ship, wherever. I think it makes it so much easier to get around people and work together.
That intensity that we have at these rugby camps is matched with that intensity of living on board with a group of females or working together 24/7. And I think it puts us in a good position when it comes to our own rugby.
Yeah, and I think that echoes, so the fact that we've all, although, you know, we might have gone through different training pipelines and had different experiences within the Navy, especially when we have to come in camp and we're all sharing rooms and someone's snoring and they keep you up half the night. I think it makes you a lot closer, and then you know, goes onto the pitch as well. So
yeah, and that ability that we've all learned through being put out of our comfort zone in our daily jobs and things like that, and being pushed, gives you that extra notch when you're on the pitch, when the going gets tough and it's chucking it down with rain and you're, you know, 3 tries down and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. Being able to find within yourself that ability to keep pushing, that grit and determination, is something that is really strong in our team, which is something that stands us out from some civilian teams, where they don't necessarily have that extra bit within themselves to just keep going even though they want to stop. You know, we're used to all having to keep going when we think we can't go anymore, which really is beneficial for a rugby pitch. You know, you're going to have those times in the games a lot, and being able to pick each other up and know what to say is really strong. Goosebumps just thinking about the fact that that's going to happen for us, and it's absolutely in our heads throughout the whole of the camp, and that's what is one of those factors that keeps driving us to push ourselves harder and harder in training, because we want to not only go out and play in Twickenham, but we want to put on a good show in Twickenham. You know, we want to play our best rugby in Twickenham when we're surrounded by all of that history. You know, I'm sure myself and everyone else in this team has grown up from being little kids watching England play in Twickenham, and to think that we're going to get to do that too. You know, we want to play the best rugby we can in that surrounding area.
It was enough that, you know, the Twickenham was in the backdrop of where we were playing, like you could see the stadium. So now to have this opportunity to actually be in that stadium, to be on that same level, is absolutely amazing. And same as Abby, like I get those goosebumps. I'm excited.
Do you know what I'm genuinely excited about, and it's going to sound really strange, is that the pitch is probably going to be the nicest pitch I've ever played on. Like, just the quality of the ground. I'm so used to playing on horrible, muddy, sandy pitches that you try running in and you're literally stuck in the ground.
Ankle break.
It's going to be so nice just to run on that grass.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go to grounds.
Yeah, no, just echoing what these guys said, it's so exciting. I think for me, I originally saw it as like an opportunity to showcase us, but now I see it as something that we deserve.
Yeah.
And I'm incredibly thankful, but I'm also like, yeah, absolutely, we're playing at Twickenham. Of course we are. Why would we not be? Yeah. So
why wasn't it done earlier?
I think that that mindset shift has also come through into camp and into all the girls thinking like, yeah, this is us. This is where we should be. This isn't, we're saying thank you, which of course we are, but we should be here. And we're ready to prove that. We're ready to prove that we maybe should have been there years ago. So yeah.
And I think it's not just Navy rugby either. I think it's women's rugby in general. Like, I've been playing for 10 years. This is my first season at Navy rugby. But this is a huge statement in terms of inter-services rugby, but in terms of women's rugby as well, is that we deserve to be on the same day, on the same pitch, having the same kind of treatment.
100%. I think even from yourself wanting to talk to us, like, we've got more people interested in what we've got to say and what we're doing and how we're preparing, even those little conversations that people want to have with us, and social media, things getting shared and things like that. And so we are definitely finding like there's a little bit more of a whirlwind around it all than maybe in previous years, it just being, this is happening, yeah, great. So it's really, really exciting for all of us. I think we've all grown up playing rugby. I think most of us grew up playing rugby, right? And we kind of grew up thinking like women would never necessarily have such a platform. And I think for us, that quite selflessly, like, we're just glad that female rugby is getting the attention, and that in 10 years time, little girls will be thinking like, look at the platform that that these women are being given, and that's what I guess from a personal point of view makes me so happy, is knowing that it's only going up.
Yeah.
And while we didn't necessarily have that when we were younger, knowing that there's another little girl who's going to have that is just the best feeling in the world.
And with the Six Nations happening now, I don't think it's overshadowing the fact that, you know, we're playing at Twickenham. If anything, it's highlighting the fact that women's rugby is here, and it's big and it's growing. And I think, if anything, it's been perfect timing, really.
Yeah.
Well, I think over the past couple of years as well, with the Six Nations, especially now, and like with Prem 15s as it is, I think it's basically echoing exactly what's just been said, but it is making women's rugby look more professional. Like, so the treatment that we get in terms of like recovery even, and like prehab, things like that, I think it's just like improved over the years. And I think it's going to be so much better for the next girls that are coming in to be treated like they are athletes, because they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're just really glad to be part of that platform.